everything changed in my life when I realized that my mind was not just observing reality. It was participating in the creation of it. And when I first understood the implications of that idea, the accountability, the responsibility, but also the possibility, it truly changed the direction of my life. I don't remember the exact words I heard. I don't even remember who I heard them from or who said them to me or who said it first. But I definitely remember what I understood. That my thoughts were not meaningless. My feelings were not separate from the way I moved through the world. The conversations I was having with myself every day were shaping what I expected, what I noticed, what I accepted, what I avoided, and what I believed was possible for me. And once I saw that, I could not unsee it again. People often say that thoughts become things. I do not take that to mean that every passing thought magically transforms itself into like a physical object. I take it to mean that every physical structure begins as something invisible from the mind. A business begins as an idea. A book begins as a thought. A decision begins as an internal conversation. A destructive habit begins as a pattern that has been repeated, for so long that it starts to feel like identity. And a different life often begins when a person starts thinking differently about who they are, what they deserve, what they are responsible for, and most of all, what they are capable of building. That understanding changed me. Not because every problem disappeared that day, because they didn't, and they don't, and they won't. My external circumstances did not instantly rearrange themselves. But internally, something had turned around. There was a major change, a catalyst had occurred within me. For the first time, I started to understand that I was not only dealing with the world outside me, I was dealing with the world within me. And that inner world was not passive. It had consequences. It has consequences. And before that point, I had learned how to almost do everything through force, through like matter, through repetition, through matter, through doing things in our physical reality, through trial and error constantly, through failure, correction, going again. And that is a skill. If I wanted to learn a skill, I would practice it until I could do it. If I failed, I would go again. If I failed, I would go again. And that gave me something very valuable. It gave me endurance. You know, endurance can build momentum also, once you start traveling in the correct direction. Because also you can travel in the wrong direction with momentum. It taught me not to collapse simply because something was difficult. It taught me that failure could become information. But still, there was also something missing. I was working physically, but I was not building mentally. I could work out the external steps required to achieve something, but I had not learned how to create an internal structure for the person attempting to achieve it. I had not examined my self-talk. I had not understood the effect of the thoughts I was repeating. I had not confronted the beliefs that had been shaped by my earlier experiences, pain, fear, and the younger part of me that is still within me. That is still, you know, our younger part is still within all of us. You know, and that younger part was still trying to survive situations that no longer existed. So I could be working hard and still be fighting myself. I could be moving forward physically while pulling myself back internally, mentally, emotionally. I could say that I wanted something while another part of me believed I could not hold it. And that is a form of self-sabotage. That hard work alone does not always correct. Because you can force yourself to complete a task, but eventually you have to ask, who is the person completing the task? What does he believe? What does he expect? What is he carrying? What is he repeating to himself when nobody else can hear? Like, that was the beginning of my real study. Not only the study of success, the study of the mind, the study of the identity, the study of thought, feeling, behavior, principle, and consequence. The study of who we are beneath the things we say we want. And the deeper I went, the more I started noticing that life operates through principles. I noticed that patterns repeat, momentum compounds. What moves consistently begins to create direction. What is neglected begins to deteriorate and break away. What remains stagnant begins to lose life. You can see it within a person. You can see it within a relationship. You can see it within a business. You can see it within within the body. You can see it within nature. A stagnant pool and a stagnant life are not identical, but they can reveal the same principle. That without movement, renewal and circulation, what was once alive can become unhealthy. Nature also taught me something about timing. Different things take different amounts of time to bear fruit. You will not be able to demand that every seed produce at the same speed. But once the correct conditions are present, once there is soil, attention, nourishment, patience, and repetition, the process begins to produce according to its nature. That is when I stopped looking at principles as abstract ideas. I started seeing them as architecture. The invisible rules beneath the invisible rules beneath visible results. And that is where the builder's code begins. 1331. 1331 is not generic number content. It's not about waiting for a number to save you. It's not about seeing a sign and believing that the work has already been completed. For me, 1331 is a code for the person responsible for building. 1331, it is the movement from identity to expression, to structure, to power. The first one represents identity. Before I build the system, I build myself. Before I ask what I want to create, I have to ask who I am becoming. Because a weak identity will not consistently hold a strong vision. Let's say that. You can receive an opportunity that your character is not prepared to manage. You can earn money that your habits are not prepared to protect. You can gain attention that your emotional structure is not prepared to carry. You can build something externally that collapses because its internal foundation was never completed. The first architecture is the mind. That is where standards are formed. That is where boundaries are formed. That is where discipline begins. That is where a person decides what will and will not be permitted within their own life. The 3 represents expression. What is within you, you must eventually be given a body. Yeah? What is within you must eventually be given a body. A thought may become a sentence. A sentence could become a book. An observation may become a lesson. A vision could end up as a product. An experience may become a framework that helps another person understand their own life. Expression is not simply talking. It's the ability to take something invisible and make it clear, useful, and real. For me, that includes writing, speaking, teaching, creating, building, and documenting what I am learning. Not because every thought deserves an audience, but maybe because what we carry has the potential to become useful when it is expressed with clarity and responsibility. Then identity and expression have to become structure. This is where the idea receives a foundation. The routine, the process, the workflow, the system, the standard, the repetition, the thing that allows the work to continue when the emotion that started is no longer present. Because vision without structure becomes emotion. You can feel deeply about an idea and still never build it. You can believe you are called to something and still refuse to develop the discipline required to carry it. You can have the intelligence, creativity, and ambition and still remain inconsistent because nothing in your life has been organized to support what you say you want. Structure is how intention becomes repeatable. It is how the builder stops depending entirely on mood. And then there's power. Not power as domination. Not power as performance. Not power as appearing important. Power is consequence. Power is what repeated structure produces. It is proof. It is ownership. It is competence. It is the ability to serve. It's the ability to create something that remains useful beyond the moment in which it was made. Power is not what you claim. It is what your system produces. Or I should say, it's what your systems produce. That is the builder's code. Identity, expression, structure, and then power. And this channel is going to document what that code looks like inside a real life. 1331, 1331, 1331. We are going to be talking about correct thinking, about the mind, identity, discipline, emotion, emotional order, I should say, and the internal conversations that shape our actions. We are going to talk about writing, authorship, speaking, and turning private understanding into useful expression. We are going to build with artificial intelligence, because this is the time of AI. That is the revolution we are sitting in right now. We're going to look at prompts, systems, different apps I use like Base 44 to build on, Specular Free, which is a privacy tech company I've built, workflows, and the process of taking an idea from imagination into something functional. We're going to talk about business, entrepreneurship, and ownership, of course. We're going to talk about trading psychology, not to sell fantasy or pretend that markets produce easy money, but because the market has a way of revealing impatience, greed, fear, indiscipline, and the need to be right. As I said, everything we're studying is fractal, which means that everything, what is true in one thing arena could be true in another. So we're going to be talking about health, physical discipline as part of building a strong container. We're going to be talking about different lands, Africa, Asia, and different parts of the world, all the changes that are happening. Responsibility to build things that are not only profitable, but useful also. These may sound like different subjects, but to me, they are all connected. As I said, all things are fractal. All things have the same principles within them, just showing itself in different ways. There are different environments in which the same builder is being tested. The writer and the trader require patience. The founder and the athlete require discipline. The person building an AI system and the person rebuilding their life both require clear thinking, honest correction, and structure. Every environment reveals something. Every build refines the builder. And I'm not making this channel because I believe that I have completed the process. I have not. And I believe it's a process that will go on forever in our lives. There are many areas in my life that are still being corrected. There are still standards I am working to embody more consistently. There are still ideas within me that need systems. There are still systems that need proof. There are still parts of me being brought into order. That is why this is not a performance of perfection. It is a documentation of becoming. The decisions, the disciplines, the mistakes. Sorry, I just got cut off for some reason. The video stopped. So the corrections, the builds, the lessons, the consequences, the things that worked and the things that expose where the structure is still weak. This channel is for builders. For the person who knows they carry more than their current life is proving. For the person with ideas, but no consistent system or systems. For the person who's tired of shallow motivation. For the person who does not need another person shouting at them to work harder. You may need to think more clearly. You may need to rebuild your identity. You may need to give your ideas a voice. You may need a structure strong enough to survive your changing emotions. You may need to stop asking, how do I only get what I want? And start asking, who must I become to hold it? Who must I become to hold it? That is the question behind 1331, 1331, 1331, 1331. Not only what are you building, but what is the work building within you? Because the vision does not only require your hands, it requires your mind. It requires your standards. It requires your voice. It requires your discipline. It requires the person you are becoming. This is 1331, 1331, 1331. Identity, expression, structure, power. That is the builder's code. Build the vision. Become the structure. Manifest the power.